Hello everyone. Welcome to another exciting StarCraft 2 broadcast. I'm Anaris. With me today, we have two players. Gosu Gaterd, the Protoss spawning down in the bottom right position, facing off against Czech Prime, who is spawning in the top left here today on Antigua Shipyards. Now, this is the first game in the best of three match series from the third season of LastPlayerStanding.com's SC2 Open, and we've already seen both of these players fight against different opponents in the quarterfinals, so we kind of have an idea of their skill levels. Gosu Gaterd seems like he has very strong mechanics, all overall good, solid play. Czech Prime, I think that he also has very good mechanics as well, but his playstyle kind of varies a little bit. Seems like he's a little bit more ballsy, a little bit more willing to go for risks than what we've seen so far. But again, we've only seen these players a couple times, so we can't really pass, concrete judgment on their decisions, etc. So we're just going to wait and see what happens, as we're going to have cross spawns, which is going to lend itself fairly well, I think, to an economic style of play. Point in case, Gosu Gaterd already dropping his pylon at the natural expansion. Now on this map, grabbing a Forge Fast Expand is a pretty solid build. If he scouts out his opponent and sees his cross spawn positions, maybe he'll decide to drop the Nexus first. It kind of depends on what Czech Prime goes for. Now, we of course can spot, with the probe on the way, a spawning pool is going to be first before the expansion. This is a very safe move for Czech Prime in that he's going to be able to get out a couple Zerglings and fight off this pesky probe. Protoss standard play this early in the game is to keep the Zerg's expansion from going down for as long as possible. So he spots this, and he knows it's a matter of time before those Zerglings are going to be out, so he's going to kind of hang out over here and be ready to evacuate. He's also going to be watching the workers to see if any of them decide to actually go out and drop the expansion, or if Czech Prime is just going to wait to see if he's going to just send a couple of Zerglings first. Now, with the probe parked over here, he's going to be able to block that for as long as possible. Now, pay attention to down here while this is going on. Gosu Gaterd has dropped his own Nexus. He did drop it after the Forge was completed, and that's fine. We're going to see what else he builds in just a second here. It looks like he's actually going to be throwing down a cannon while we can watch the continued pressure from the probe up here. Finally, that expansion has gone down. You see that probe did lose quite a lot in the way of shields. Gosu Gaterd not wanting to lose that probe, keeping it a little bit of a wider angle, allowing that expansion to go down. With a couple Zerglings on the way now, ready to defend, he's going to be checking for any sort of pylons, any sort of hidden structures that may be present at the natural, and then he's probably going to be proceeding out to control the map. Now, this watchtower, let's talk about this for just a brief moment, as given the fact that we're going to have cross spawn positions, I think this watchtower is going to come in handy a lot more than it would, say, if Gosu Gaterd spawned here and Czech Prime spawned here. Why? Well, because of the fact that the players are going to be running their natural path between the two bases is going to be right along here. Whereas, okay, there are the Zerglings controlling that. This will prove my point. If you look over here, if they had these two spawning positions, units could go back and forth without ever coming into visual range of the watchtower. So while it would be important to control that in the later stages of the game, and those spawning positions, or even these, it would not be essential in the early matchup. So Protoss, realizing Zerglings obviously can take out a probe, not really going to worry about that. Now, the probe did come up here and did spot this expansion, so Gaterd is going to know there's going to be an opportunity for him to potentially harass his opponent. Knowing that Zerg is going to be going for that third base, he's going to be wanting to saturate it very quickly, and likely he's going to have a lot of larvae dedicated to drones. Therefore, his Zerglings will probably just be maintaining a minimum of map control / defense. And again, it's a calculated risk. He knows that his opponent, Gosu Gaterd that is, knows that, Czech Prime knows that Gosu Gaterd is going for that natural expansion. There we go. And so he's betting that Gaterd is not going to be doing any sort of pressure. So Gaterd knows that expansion's up. We're going to wait and see what happens here. As Weapons 1 just started a moment or two ago, we do have a second Zealot was chrono boosted out, as the Protoss is going to be continuing to saturate his natural, using chrono boost on that. Now, watch, pay attention, as two Zealots are headed out across the map. Let's see where they go. Do they head too close to the watchtower, or are they just going to cut directly over? Let's get the vision of the Zerg and watch. Oh man, that's smooth right there. Gosu Gaterd completely bypassing the vision. But Czech Prime does have, oh, nice positioning of the Overlord. He spots the Zealots, so now he's going to be able to send some reinforcements. See right there, he builds 8 Zerglings. Let's see if he decides to drop down a Spine Crawler, or if he's just going to try to wing it and hope for those Zerglings to come there in time. 14 Zerglings now total. Drones deciding to just go ahead and start running around. We're going to have the circle dance here. And really, Czech Prime, he is losing mining time, which is good for Gosu Gaterd, but he hasn't actually lost any drones yet, and that's the important part. We're going to watch here and see Gosu Gaterd actually move. Wow, nice positioning there by Gaterd. Really, the Zerglings, oh, very nice with the drones. The Zerglings are going to be basically taking a lot of damage, as you're seeing, finally, the last Zealot going to be taken out there. Total resources lost, or workers rather, you see 0 and 0, 2 units compared to 8. I'd say that actually worked out pretty well for Czech Prime. He does have an Overlord over here that looks like it's going to be shot at as we speak, but several Zerglings are now being rallied to different portions of the map. This is actually very smart. Czech Prime has all these Zerglings now that he's built in anticipation of possibly having to fight off something a little bit stronger. But this will let him have a lot more in the way of map control, especially since that speed upgrade just kicked in. So he's going to be able to watch different points of the map. Like, for example, he's going to be able to watch this point right here. You see he's got Zerglings running to all the expansions, and he's just going to be generally more aware as the game goes on. Now, he does have Tier 2 on the way working on the lair. He's also got the Roach Warren. Back down to Gaterd's base. Now that we're starting to see what he's doing a little bit more, he is pretty much just going to be going with a very heavy focus on gateway units. Now he does have an Artosis pylon right here, so we got to keep an eye on that, see if Zerg tries to exploit that opportunity. But for now, you see Zerg is actually just poking around, seeing Gosu Gaterd. Okay, pretty much just getting an idea of the composition. Very heavy on the sentries. Also very heavy on the Zealots. Couple Stalkers, that's about it. So this means that not a ton of gas has been invested into tech thus far. We do see Armor 1 is just about complete. Weapons 1 is finished now, I believe. Yes. And as the Protoss continues to wander about, he might decide to be a little bit more aggressive here now that he has a proxy pylon. Now notice how the Zerg has created an Overseer, spots that, wants to maybe switch in a Changeling into that army. Another pylon going down, going to be going for the descent of destructible rocks. Looking at the army composition right now, 101 to 119. We see 10 Roaches, 31 Zerglings. That's a lot of Zerglings. He's really hoping to get a good surround on this Protoss player. But notice where Gosu Gaterd is keeping his army. Nice and tucked away close in this position. This is a fantastic spot for him to defend against Zerglings and Roaches. And now we're going to see him bust up that ramp. Zerg is pretty much just looking to cut off the reinforcements. That's really all he can do at this point. He wants to take out this pylon, and Protoss knows it is a vulnerable point at this time. And does he still have that probe in there somewhere? I can't really even tell. Yes, he does, right there in the middle. So, again, Czech Prime just playing very smart, being passive. Oh, one more force field. Manages to pick off a lot of those drones, but we see that a few of them do manage to get away in time. As we head back over to the production tab, several Hydralisks on their way. Now, Hydras are very, very powerful units against gateway forces. But, you know, I think maybe Gosu Gaterd, what he's doing here, it could hurt him in the long run, or it could pay off very well. It seems like, oh, nice. It seems like he's committing so much to gateway, not really giving a hint as to what he's going to be going in terms of tech. You know, with this 2 base pressure, he has really not had a lot of room for going tech. The fact that he has all this gas now invested into these Stalkers, he has a Twilight Council on the way as well as a robotics facility. So he might decide to go Blink, in which case the Zerg can opt for Fungal. But I think that, you know, with that robotics facility, he could also go Colossi. So really, it's just going to be a coin toss to wait and see what happens next. Whether he decides to try to go ahead and upgrade his existing army, or whether he decides to try to drop a third and go a different tech route. Now, a couple of Zerglings blocking this expansion right here. And Czech Prime is really going to need to find out what his opponent is doing. He does have one Zergling over here. Not really super useful in actually getting out here and scouting. He's probably going to have to send in another Overseer or something. Because finding out that, you know, what the Protoss player is going for his tech route is absolutely crucial. As Zerg is kind of at the next stage of the game here, where if he's going to be continuing going with Hydralisks, it could be vulnerable to not Infestor play, but Colossus. You know, but likewise, if opponent continues just going this very gateway heavy force, it may be that he wants to stick with that. So it's a very hard thing to read for the Zerg player right now. He just does not have the information to tell. So knocking out these Zerglings is going to give the Protoss his third base. We see that Czech Prime now finally getting his own third just about complete. His army sitting midfield. We look at the units lost now. I see 56 to 59 in terms of workers. Workers supply, that is, not workers killed. Workers killed, 2 to 13. I saw that for a second. I'm like, how did he kill 57 Protoss workers? But yeah, I just had a derpy moment there. So as far as what the Zerg player can do now, I mean, really, given what he's seen of the Protoss army so far, not knowing that there's Immortals on the way, I think his army is pretty solid. You know, but again, oh man, that's actually getting pretty close. Don't want to go in there. He is going to be in such an awkward position in a couple minutes, I feel like, with this Robotics Bay on the way. He does have a Spire just about complete. I think he's just kind of anticipating the Colossi. But, oh no, that army split right there is just brutal. Oh, Czech Prime, you're going to end up losing so much in this fight as his Hydras are just running around, dropping up back there. Cannot even get into fire, only hitting the Zealots. Nice burrow, good save. That was just great positioning for GoSugator as Czech Prime just split his army so much going through that area. Oh man, that cost him so much. That might have actually cost him the game. We'll wait and see. The reason I say that is because now the Zerg player is going to have to rebuild so much of his army instead of being able to deal with the potential Colossi that we have coming out here. We don't have a Templar Archives, we just have that Robotics Bay. And with another Observer on the way, going to be replace that other one. The Zerg's expansion's now finished, and we're starting to have drones operating again. But again, the fact that Czech Prime is having to dedicate so much larva to his economy, building that back up, even though there's a 30 supply deficit, a lot of that roaches just having lost it in that one split. GoSugator was propelled to such a great position. So we're going to see how Czech Prime manages his economy now. We have an infestation pit on the way. I think that's a very smart move, and that fungal growth will really limit this army's mobility. With the blink upgrade, obviously that's meant to mitigate a lot of damage, as he's just going to be able to blink those frontline stalkers to the rear, still keeping them in the fight. With Colossi on the way, though, 2 of them to be exact, and the extended thermal lance, I think he's going to have a very small window of opportunity before for potential harassment via drops or, you know, anything at this point. Because here's the thing. I know that the Zerg is in a really bad spot, but he's got to do something about this Protoss economy. We look at the income right now and see that they're dead even. Zerg taking this 4th base right here, and that's fine. But just continuing to play... Oh, no. Gator, you are one evil man. So those Zealots are going to either force the cancellation. Yep, there we go. That's going to be 3 bases that the Zerg player is going to be sitting on. You saw a little bit of harassment there with Dark Templar, I think, actually. Was that Dark Templar? That couldn't have been Dark Templar. I didn't see the Dark Shrine in there. No, I think that was just a Zealot coming over. But overall, very nice play here from GoSugator as Czech Prime continues to try to just build up his forces, do anything possible. And I'll be honest, I feel like Gator is just in a commanding position right now. 197 to 189. His 3rd base is solidified. You see he's got a nice wall right here. His army is very balanced. He's got a lot of Stalkers, you know, so he's got a decent amount of Zealots. No charge upgrade just yet. Not working on that either. But with the Templar Archive on the way, he already has enough gas dedicated to Colossi. Pretty much about all he needs. You know, at this point, Zerg, the only option that he had rebuilding his army was to get a lot of Hydras and Roaches and a few Zerglings, which I don't think he has that many of anymore. But the Protoss now spots this army, sees the Spine Crawlers, knows that the Zerg is in quite a vulnerable position. Now notice that we do have... Oh man, we actually have a lot of Corruptors turning into... Oh, okay, I thought that was a Broodlord for a second. But no, we do have a Greater Spire on the way, and we... Oh man. This could not actually end very well for Czech Prime if the Protoss actually decides to move up here. Now, one thing that Czech Prime can do is fungal harass the Stalkers in particular. The Colossi he's going to be careful about because they do have that extended thermal lance 9 range on those. Watching this expansion, see if the Zerg player is going to try to take that again. But notice how Gosu Gator, he is keeping an eye on these expansions over here, as well as warping in with the Warp Prism, a Zealot, knocking out this hatchery. Is he actually going to force the cancellation on it? Oh, these roaches should be able to handle it. Not enough of a force to really tell Gosu Gator, okay, the army is out of position, maybe I should attack. But you see how he's just keeping a nice spread out formation. I really do like that. I really do like that about Gosu Gator's style of play right now. There's the quick withdrawal of the drones, as Czech Prime is just keeping his army way away from the fight. This is actually a really smart move right now, because he knows that Protoss, high ground, Colossi, outrange, insta-lose. He'd be able to force field and just sandwich that army to pieces. Now, with 6 Broodlords on the way, this could change things up a little bit. That could force the Colossi to shoot a lot of their auto attacks closer on the Broodlings, effectively allowing the Hydras to do the damage that needs to be done up close to the Hydras. It will require manual targeting by the Colossi, and you're seeing that the Protoss is kind of forced to be pushed back a little bit. Zerg's got to watch out, though. Overcommitting to an attack like this could end up very poorly for him. But you see the Protoss is spread out. Again, there's one fungal on that group. Didn't do too much damage. You see just shields. That's about it. But again, he's playing so smart with those Broodlords. You see Zerg so many times just overextending them, sending them way out of position, and then all of a sudden, blink, you've lost all your Broodlords, and your army is just getting picked apart. Now here we go, folks. Zerg actually tucked away. This is going to work out very well for the Protoss. Force field's just going to slightly delay the attack. Czech Prime still trying to do any damage that he can. But he knows he's fighting an uphill battle. The supply counts are very close, but keep in mind, we have a proxy pylon right here, and Protoss is just sitting on 2k of each resource. And we see continued harassment by this Warp Prism over here. I think just warping in 1 Zealot. More Broodlords on the way. Bring it to a total of 8, I believe. No, 9. As we look at the income, we're seeing Zerg really start to falter. He only has 58 workers right now. Oh, the Zerg could have come in and fungal growth the Colossi and caught him way out of position, but no, choosing to move back. We're going to see 1 Colossus go down. 3 additional ones are going to be more than enough to keep the Zerg opponent at bay. And as far as ground troops now, you see he is just pretty much macroing up more roaches at this point. That's a very smart move. He had a lot of Hydras that just, while they are very high in damage output, not what you want to have against Colossi. We do have a fleet beacon that just finished. We could potentially see a mothership in the next engagement, but denying this high yield is a good move by Czech Prime. I mean, really, with Zerg having the high ground like this, the threat of fungals on the incoming army from either ramp, combine that with the Broodlords, making it very difficult to maneuver around. I think it's a good position there. So is Czech Prime actually going to be able to make a comeback here? He has now pushed the Protoss to be in a defensive position. Now this is where Gosu Gator to realize success earlier in the match. Uh-oh, all these infestors getting called out of position. One of them getting taken out right there. The rest of them just dropping infested Terrans in front of the line, trying to make Gosu Gator hit those so the Broodlords can get into position, also doing very high damage to the Stalkers. But there's just so much for the Protoss, and there's the offensive blink, going to be able to knock out a lot of those Broodlords right there. Nice fungal, going to really limit the mobility for the Protoss, but Gosu Gator blinks in once again. Another Broodlord goes down. We're going to see Czech Prime just be forced to fall back. 50 supply deficit right now as Void Raid's now into the mix. Charge is about 40% complete, and there goes the Zerg army, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at the total units lost right now, 77 to 11, 8 to 21 for the workers. And as far as income is concerned, you see Zerg has now really kicked it up a notch, saturating both of these expansion over here. But now his entire army is just running point blank directly into it, including the Infestor getting taken out. There's the GG, concluding game number 1. In this best of 3 semifinals. Thank you for watching, folks. I do hope you enjoyed the game. Let's go on to game number 2, see what happens next. Make sure you click the annotation there to go directly to it. And before you do, if you can thumbs up the video, if you liked it, that is, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, see you there.